Can you imagine a young boy growing up in a quiet Japanese town, destined to one day lead an attack that would change the course of history, yet later transform into a messenger of peace? This is the story of Mitsuo Fuchida, a man whose journey from disciplined youth to military prodigy laid the foundation for one of the most pivotal chapters of the 20th century. Mitsuo Fuchida was born on December 3, 1902, in Katsuragi, Nara Prefecture, Japan, a region known for its serene landscapes, ancient temples, and traditions that deeply valued honor, loyalty, and duty. His family, though not wealthy, instilled in him the principles of discipline and perseverance from an early age. The ethos of duty to country and respect for authority were deeply embedded in his upbringing, reflecting the broader values of Japanese society in the early 20th century. And as a child, Fuchida exhibited a remarkable combination of curiosity, intelligence, and determination. He was not only academically gifted but also physically active, often exploring the hills and forests around his hometown, developing a keen sense of observation and self-reliance. These traits would later serve him well in the highly demanding world of naval aviation. His parents encouraged both mental and physical rigor, preparing him for a life where discipline would become inseparable from survival. In 1921, at the age of 19, Fuchida entered the Imperial Japanese Naval Academy, one of the most prestigious military institutions in the country. The academy was known for its grueling curriculum, emphasizing not only maritime strategy and engineering, but also moral integrity, leadership, and resilience under pressure. Cadets were subjected to intense physical training, military drills, and a highly structured daily routine, designed to mold young men into officers capable of serving the empire with unwavering loyalty. During his years at the academy, Fuchida quickly distinguished himself. He possessed a rare combination of strategic intellect and natural leadership, qualities that earned him the respect of both instructors and peers. While many cadets excelled in academics or athletics, few demonstrated the balanced excellence that Fuchida exhibited. His ability to remain calm under stress and make rapid, precise decisions hinted at the military career he was destined to pursue. Graduating in 1924, Fuchida was commissioned as a junior officer in the Imperial Japanese Navy. His early assignments involved standard naval duties, but he was soon drawn to the emerging field of naval aviation, a branch that promised innovation, challenge, and strategic importance. The Japanese Navy, recognizing the growing role of aircraft in modern warfare, encouraged talented young officers to train as pilots. Fuchida embraced this path with the same discipline and intensity that had defined his academy years. And then training as a naval aviator was not for the faint of heart. It required precise technical knowledge, physical endurance, and unwavering courage. Pilots had to master navigation, aerodynamics, aerial combat techniques, and formation flying, all while operating aircraft that, by today's standards, were rudimentary and often dangerously unreliable. Fuchida excelled, quickly gaining a reputation as a skilled and fearless pilot, capable of executing complex maneuvers under pressure. His instructors praised his meticulous attention to detail, noting that he approached both planning and execution with the precision of a seasoned strategist. In 1936, Fuchida graduated from the Naval Staff College, an elite institution designed to produce the next generation of military leaders. Here he was trained not just in tactics, but in strategic planning, intelligence assessment, and the coordination of large-scale operations. He studied historical battles, analyzed enemy tactics, and engaged in wargaming exercises that simulated complex military scenarios. This education sharpened his analytical mind and taught him the importance of preparation, timing, and adaptability, lessons that would later prove crucial during the planning and execution of the Pearl Harbor attack. Fuchida's rise through the naval ranks was steady but notable. His career combined both practical flying experience and theoretical military strategy, a rare combination that set him apart from his contemporaries. He demonstrated an uncanny ability to synchronize multiple elements of an operation, anticipating how each component would interact under the pressures of battle. This strategic foresight would later define his leadership during one of the most meticulously planned and executed military strikes in history. But Fuchida's story is not merely a chronicle of military accomplishments. Even in these early years, there were signs of a deeper introspective quality. He was not content with blind obedience or mechanical execution of orders. He sought to understand the reasoning behind strategy, the moral dimensions of leadership, and the human consequences of conflict. This reflective nature, though not widely recognized at the time, would later play a pivotal role in his post-war transformation. Outside the academy and training fields, Fuchida was known for his quiet determination and disciplined lifestyle. He valued precision in all things, from the maintenance of his aircraft to the meticulous record-keeping of flight logs. His peers noted his calm demeanor, even under intense pressure, and his ability to inspire confidence in those around him. These qualities, combined with his growing reputation as a skilled aviator, positioned him as a natural leader within the Imperial Japanese Navy's aviation branch. In the late 1930s, Fuchida had established himself as one of Japan's premier naval pilots and emerging military strategists. He had completed rigorous training, mastered complex operational planning, and earned the trust of his superiors. Yet, despite his rising status, there remained a tension between his discipline and personal reflection, a tension that would define the choices he faced in the coming years. This chapter of Mitsuo Fuchida's life, his childhood, education, and early military career, paints a portrait of a man shaped by discipline, intellect, and ambition. It sets the stage for the dramatic and controversial events that would follow, demonstrating how a combination of personal rigor, strategic insight, and moral contemplation can converge to create a figure capable of extraordinary impact on world history. Fuchida's early life was the flight before the storm, a time of preparation, learning, and internal shaping that would allow him to navigate the tumultuous skies of war, and later, the uncharted moral territory of peace and redemption. It was the foundation upon which the story of a man who could both destroy and transform would be built. A story that begins here, in the quiet hills of Nara, where a boy's curiosity and discipline were quietly forging the pilot who would one day command history itself. The explosive beginning, attack on Pearl Harbor in December 7, 1941, a day that would forever be etched in history. For one man, Mitsuo Fuchida, it was the day when years of training, strategy, and discipline converged into a single world-altering moment. From the quiet skies above Hawaii, his actions would ignite a conflict that changed the course of the 20th century. In the late 1930s, the world was a powder keg. Japan, driven by a desire to expand its influence across the Pacific and secure access to vital resources, found itself in direct opposition to the United States, whose naval power in the Pacific posed a formidable barrier to Japanese ambitions. Tensions escalated as diplomatic negotiations faltered, leaving Japan's military strategists convinced that decisive action was necessary to ensure their country's future. Fuchida, now a seasoned captain in the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service, had proven himself to be both a brilliant strategist and a fearless pilot. His superiors recognized not only his skill in commanding aircraft, but also his ability to synchronize large, complex operations, making him the ideal leader for a mission of unprecedented scale. The surprise aerial attack on Pearl Harbor NNTHE plan was audacious. A fleet of aircraft carriers would launch waves of aircraft over hundreds of miles of ocean to strike the U.S. Pacific Fleet stationed in Hawaii. The goal was not merely tactical, it was strategic, to cripple the U.S. Navy so severely that Japan would gain free rein across the Pacific. For Fuchida, the operation represented the culmination of years of preparation, training, and careful planning. Every maneuver, every second of timing had been studied and rehearsed in simulations and war games. On the morning of December 7, 1941, Fuchida climbed into the cockpit of his Mitsubishi G4M bomber, ready to lead the first wave of the attack. The early dawn skies over Hawaii were calm, betraying no hint of the devastation that was about to unfold. As his formation approached the harbor, Fuchida maintained a cool and calculated composure, issuing precise commands to his pilots and ensuring that each element of the attack unfolded exactly as planned. Then came the moment that would immortalize his name in military history. Fuchida sent the signal nin, Tora, Tora, Tora. This coded phrase, meaning tiger, 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 communicated that the attack had achieved complete surprise. For Japanese command, it was a triumphant confirmation that their carefully orchestrated operation had succeeded in its initial objective. Yet behind the military precision, the human consequences were immediate and staggering. NNTHE attack unfolded with devastating efficiency. Fuchida's wave of aircraft targeted battleships, cruisers, and airfields, unleashing bombs and torpedoes that left the harbor in flames. Explosions ripped through decks and hangars, while thick smoke and fire obscured the morning sun. Over 400 Americans were killed, and nearly 200 were wounded. Ships were sunk or severely damaged, and aircraft were destroyed on the ground. For the first time in history, The destructive potential of a surprise aerial assault against a major naval base had been demonstrated in full scale. And Fuchida, from his vantage point in the sky, witnessed both the effectiveness of the operation and the chaos it created. Despite the success of the mission, he was acutely aware of the moral and psychological weight of what he was part of. The precise execution of strategy could not erase the human cost. Yet, at that moment, the focus remained on completing the mission and returning his pilots safely to their carriers. In the hours that followed, news of the attack spread rapidly across the globe. In the United States, disbelief gave way to outrage, and the nation was propelled into war. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not merely a tactical maneuver. It was a strategic gamble that would provoke a powerful adversary, fundamentally altering the trajectory of World War II. For Fuchida personally, the mission elevated him to a position of historical prominence. He was lauded within Japan as a national hero, the symbol of military precision and daring. Yet, beneath the accolades, there was a complexity that few outside the cockpit could understand. He had achieved military success at a staggering cost, and the weight of that reality would later become a central theme in his personal reflection and spiritual journey. Planning and execution of the Pearl Harbor attack revealed much about Fuchida's character. He was disciplined, meticulous, and unflinchingly brave, yet he also possessed an extraordinary ability to anticipate and adapt. Each element of the attack required coordination among multiple squadrons, careful timing of takeoffs and bomb releases, and precise navigation across open ocean. One misstep could have doomed the mission, yet under his command, it unfolded with near-perfect execution. Beyond the military and historical significance, the attack also demonstrated Fuchida's leadership qualities. He inspired confidence and focus among his pilots, instilling in them a calm efficiency even in the face of immense danger. His command style combined authority with precision, creating a cohesive unit capable of executing a complex, high-stakes operation under pressure. These qualities were not merely learned. They were forged through years of disciplined education, rigorous training, and a deep sense of personal responsibility. Yet even as the mission succeeded, questions lingered. Could a military victory justify the profound loss of life it caused? Could strategic brilliance reconcile with the moral weight of its consequences? At the time, Fuchida focused on duty and honor, but the seeds of later reflection were already planted. The experience of leading such a monumental attack would become a lens through which he later examined not just the art of warfare, but the ethics of human action, responsibility, and redemption. After the war, reflection and a turn toward faith. Is it possible for a man who has witnessed, and even orchestrated, the horrors of war to find peace within himself? For Mitsuo Fuchida, the answer would come not through medals or recognition, but through a journey of deep reflection, moral reckoning, and ultimately, faith. End of World War II left Japan devastated. Cities lay in ruins, millions of lives had been lost, and the country faced occupation and reconstruction under foreign oversight. For military leaders like Mitsuo Fuchida, the collapse of Japan's war effort forced a confrontation with the reality of defeat and the consequences of their actions. After years of planning and executing military operations with precision, Fuchida now found himself navigating a different kind of battlefield, one of conscience and moral responsibility. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor and other key engagements, including his role in the Battle of Midway, Fuchida had experienced the full scope of aerial warfare. He had led men into battle, witnessed the destruction of ships and aircraft, and seen thousands of human lives altered or ended by decisions he had helped make. Initially, as was common among career military officers of his time, Fuchida focused on duty, honor, and loyalty. The notion of questioning the morality of actions performed in service to the nation was foreign, yet the cumulative weight of wartime experiences began to penetrate his consciousness. NNBY 1945. With Japan's surrender and the official end of hostilities, Fuchida faced a profound personal reckoning. The sense of national pride that had once guided his actions was replaced by a quieter, heavier awareness. The human cost of war was staggering, and the responsibility of leadership was immense. He began reflecting on the implications of his choices and the lives affected by his commands. These reflections marked the beginning of a transformative journey, a journey from a career defined by discipline and tactical mastery to one guided by moral introspection. In 1949, a pivotal moment occurred. Fuchida came into contact with an American missionary, whose words challenged his understanding of justice, responsibility, and forgiveness. This encounter sparked a spiritual awakening, leading Fuchida to embrace Christianity. For a man raised in a culture shaped by the Bushido Code and deep loyalty to the empire, this was a significant and personal transformation. The Christian faith offered him a framework to process his past actions, confront guilt, and pursue a life aligned with peace and compassion rather than conflict and destruction. Fuchida's conversion was not merely a private matter. It became the foundation for a new mission in life. He devoted himself to spreading messages of reconciliation and faith, traveling extensively across Japan, the United States, and Europe. He spoke to audiences of soldiers, civilians, and students, sharing his personal story of war, moral reckoning, and spiritual renewal. In these speeches, he did not seek to glorify his wartime actions. Instead, he emphasized the necessity of reflection, humility, and the pursuit of peace. His message resonated with those who had experienced the trauma of war firsthand, as well as with broader audiences seeking guidance in post-war reconstruction and reconciliation. A key aspect of Fuchida's post-war life was his commitment to honesty and transparency. He openly acknowledged his role in the attack on Pearl Harbor, discussing the planning, execution, and aftermath with clarity and candor. By confronting his past without evasion or justification, he provided a model for accountability that went beyond legal or military responsibility, delving into ethical and spiritual dimensions. This openness allowed him to serve as a bridge between former enemies, demonstrating that understanding and reconciliation were possible even after profound conflict. Fuchida's transformation was also characterized by an active engagement with education and humanitarian efforts. He worked with organizations promoting peace, giving lectures in schools and universities, and collaborating with religious and civic groups to foster dialogue and understanding. Through these efforts, he sought to prevent future generations from repeating the mistakes of the past, emphasizing the value of empathy, moral reflection, and global awareness. By the mid-1950s, Fuchida had established himself as a respected figure in both Japan and abroad. His reputation as a military leader remained, but it was now complemented by recognition as a moral and spiritual guide. People came to hear him speak, not to celebrate war, but to learn from it, to understand the consequences of human actions, and to cultivate compassion and wisdom. Fuchida's journey also illustrates the interplay between personal transformation and historical memory. As one of the few surviving leaders directly involved in the Pearl Harbor attack, his reflections offered invaluable insights into both the strategic and human dimensions of war. By sharing these perspectives, he contributed to a broader understanding of history, one that integrates ethical reflection with factual recounting. And ultimately, Fuchida's post-war life can be seen as a testament to the human capacity for growth and redemption, from a disciplined youth and brilliant pilot to a wartime leader, and finally, to a man of faith and moral purpose. His story underscores the possibility of profound change. The man who once commanded the skies over Pearl Harbor became a living example that one's past does not irrevocably define the future. Mitsuo Fuchida's post-war transformation reminds us that, even in the aftermath of destruction, there is room for reflection, forgiveness, and purposeful action. His journey from war to peace serves as an enduring lesson that true courage encompasses not only the mastery of strategy and skill, but also the humility to confront one's actions, the wisdom to learn from them, and the commitment to contribute positively to the world. NNBY embracing Christianity and dedicating himself to reconciliation, Fuchida completed a remarkable arc of personal evolution. His life story challenges us to consider the moral dimensions of our actions, the responsibility we bear to others, and the potential for redemption, no matter the magnitude of past mistakes. In the tapestry of 20th century history, Mitsuo Fuchida's story is unique, a man who saw both the heights of military achievement and the depths of moral consequence, and who ultimately chose a path of reflection, faith, and peace. His life after the war is a powerful reminder that transformation is possible, and that the lessons of history are most profound when they inspire ethical action and compassion for others. Messenger of Peace, Fuchida's final chapter. Can one man's journey from the skies of war to the halls of peace inspire the world? Mitsuo Fuchida's final chapter reveals a life transformed, not just by circumstance, but by the profound power of reflection, faith, and the relentless pursuit of reconciliation. NNTHE final years of Mitsuo Fuchida's life were defined not by the roar of engines or the precision of military strategy, but by the quiet, deliberate work of promoting understanding, peace, and moral reflection. After decades of rigorous training, wartime leadership, and post-war spiritual awakening, Fuchida embraced a role that few could have imagined during his early years as a naval aviator. he became a messenger of peace. Fuchida's post-war commitment to reconciliation was both personal and public. He traveled extensively, sharing his experiences with audiences across Japan, the United States, and Europe. His lectures were unique, blending the precision of military analysis with profound moral reflection. Audiences were captivated not only by the detailed recounting of the Pearl Harbor attack, but also by the honesty and humility with which he spoke about his role in one of the most devastating military operations in history. Instead, Fuchida framed his story as a lesson in the human consequences of war, emphasizing the importance of ethical responsibility, empathy, and dialogue between former enemies. He often recounted the faces of those lost in battle, the chaos he witnessed from the cockpit, and the moments of fear and courage shared with his fellow pilots. These reflections made his lectures deeply moving and intellectually engaging, as he invited audiences to consider both the strategic and moral dimensions of history. One of the most remarkable aspects of Fuchida's final chapter was his willingness to confront the moral weight of his actions. Unlike many military leaders who avoided discussions of personal responsibility, he openly acknowledged the consequences of the Pearl Harbor attack and subsequent wartime operations. He grappled publicly with questions of justice, forgiveness, and the ethical implications of obedience and strategy. By doing so, he offered a model for accountability that went beyond law or hierarchy, touching the core of personal and societal ethics. And Fuchida's work as a messenger of peace was not merely rhetorical. He actively engaged in education and humanitarian efforts, collaborating with schools, universities, and civic organizations to promote dialogue and understanding. He encouraged critical thinking about history, urging audiences to consider not just the what and how of events, but the why and should we. His insights helped cultivate a more reflective approach to history, one that prioritized empathy and moral discernment alongside factual knowledge. Despite his efforts, the shadows of war remained. Fuchida carried the memories of destroyed ships, lost comrades, and lives taken with him, understanding that reconciliation required constant reflection and humility. Yet these memories did not paralyze him. Instead, they fueled his determination to make his remaining years a testament to constructive action and ethical guidance. NNBY the 1970s, Fuchida's reputation as both a military strategist and a moral guide was firmly established. He was recognized not only in Japan but internationally as a figure who exemplified the capacity for personal transformation. His life demonstrated that even those who have been central to acts of historic violence can choose a different path, one marked by reflection, ethical engagement, and the pursuit of peace. Fuchida's final years were also marked by literary contributions. He documented his experiences in detailed accounts of wartime operations, personal reflections, and spiritual insights. These writings served multiple purposes. They preserved historical knowledge, offered moral and ethical lessons, and provided a platform for reflection on the human capacity for both destruction and redemption. Scholars and students of military history continue to study these works, not only for their tactical insights, but for the profound lessons they convey about leadership, responsibility, and the human spirit. On May 30, 1976, Mitsuo Fuchida passed away in Kashiwara, Japan, at the age of 73. His death marked the end of a life that had traversed extreme landscapes, from the disciplined training grounds of a young cadet to the skies over Pearl Harbor, and finally to lecture halls and classrooms where he advocated for understanding and reconciliation. His life story stands as a testament to the possibility of profound transformation and moral courage. Mitsuo Fuchida's legacy is multidimensional. Historically, he is remembered as a central figure in one of the most significant military operations of the 20th century. Personally and spiritually, he exemplifies the potential for growth, reflection, and ethical responsibility. His journey from warrior to peace advocate challenges conventional narratives of heroism and leadership, suggesting that true courage involves not only mastery of skill and strategy, but also the humility to confront one's past and dedicate oneself to the betterment of humanity. In the end, Fuchida's final chapter is not merely the conclusion of a life. It is a lesson for all generations. It is a story that demonstrates that even in the aftermath of devastation, the human spirit has the capacity to reflect, to change, and to act with compassion. From the skies of war to the mission of peace, Mitsuo Fuchida's life embodies the enduring truth that history is shaped not only by events, but by the ethical and moral choices of those who live through it. Mitsuo Fuchida's story reminds us that the power to transform, reconcile, and inspire lies within every individual. Even a man who once sent the fateful message, Tora, 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 could later choose to dedicate his life to understanding, compassion, and the pursuit of peace. It is a narrative that transcends history, offering timeless guidance for confronting conflict, embracing accountability, and striving toward a more humane and harmonious world.